All right, listeners, welcome back to Talk Tickers. Now, we usually like to take deep dives into the world of earnings calls, but today we're going to kind of shift gears a little bit. We're diving into some major breaking news that's got the whole automotive industry buzzing.
Yeah, it's a big one. It's got everyone talking, for sure.
General Motors is hitting the brakes on robotaxis.
That's right, they are.
So December 10th, 2024, GM announced that they are restructuring Cruise, which is their self-driving car unit. They're pulling back from developing robotaxis and instead bringing Cruise's operations in-house to focus on personal autonomous vehicles.
It's a really interesting move when you think about the direction of the whole autonomous vehicle market. This could be a big indicator of things to come.
So let's break down what we know. GM is planning to merge its own autonomous tech teams with Cruise, and they're saying that this is going to cut spending by over $1 billion annually. So they're clearly looking for some efficiencies here.
Oh, absolutely. And streamlining operations by combining those teams that could lead to faster innovation cycles and maybe even better use of resources overall.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Even though they're shifting focus, they're actually increasing their ownership stake in Cruise to over 97%.
That's a big statement right there. They're putting a lot of faith in Cruise's tech and their potential future. They believe in what Cruise can do, maybe just not in the robotaxi market.
So the big question is, why the sudden change of plans? What's behind this decision from GM? What could it mean for the company itself, for Cruise, and for the future of autonomous vehicles as a whole?
Well, I think we got to start with the robotaxi market. It's gotten super competitive really fast. You've got companies like Waymo already out there putting their services on the streets. And let's be real, developing robotaxis at scale. It's a huge undertaking. It takes a ton of time and resources to really make that happen.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering if maybe GM saw the writing on the wall, especially when you think about all the regulations and hurdles that cities have. It's a long road to get robotaxis everywhere. Maybe they realized that cracking this market was going to be a lot tougher and a lot more expensive than they thought at first.
It definitely seems like a possibility. And, when you look at the personal vehicle market that's massive, GM already has a really strong presence there. It makes sense that they'd want to focus on an area where they've got that solid foundation.
It's true. They can use everything they've already got, their infrastructure, their manufacturing, to integrate this tech into cars they're already making.
Yeah.
It's like they're making a bet that personal autonomous vehicles are going to be mainstream before we see fully autonomous robotaxis everywhere.
Yeah, I think that's a good observation. And you got to remember, personal vehicles could be a faster path to making a profit compared to robotaxis. They might not have as many regulatory hurdles to jump through either.
So this whole shift, it's all about playing to their strengths, focusing on a market where things might be a little easier right now. But what does this actually mean for Cruise? What's their role in this new plan?
It looks like Cruise is moving away from being a standalone robotaxi company. Instead, they're going to be a core tech provider for GM. They're going to be developing that self-driving tech, but it's going to go into GM's vehicles. Think of them as the brains behind a whole new generation of self-driving Chevys, Buicks, and Cadillacs.
And don't forget about GM's Super Cruise. That's their hands-free driver assistance system. It's pretty advanced already, and now we can see Cruise taking it even further.
For sure. They're going to build on what's already there, make those driver assistance systems even better, more sophisticated. Eventually, that's what could lead to those fully autonomous personal vehicles. It's a big change in direction.
So this whole decision to pull back from robotaxis, it really brings up a lot of questions. How is this going to affect the race to make fully autonomous vehicles a reality? How is this going to impact people who buy cars and the whole idea of owning a car? We'll be digging deeper into these questions in just a bit.
So we were just talking about how GM's pulling back from those robotaxis and putting their energy into personal autonomous vehicles.
It's a big change, and I think it makes people wonder what it all means for everyday drivers. What changes could we actually see in the cars we're driving pretty soon?
Well, just imagine a world where your car isn't just something that gets you from point A to point B. It's more like your co-pilot.
Like having a chauffeur built right in, handles the commute for you, navigates rush hour, maybe even takes care of that dreaded parallel parking.
Exactly. And what GM's doing suggests that this kind of future might be a lot closer than we think. Instead of waiting around for those fully autonomous robotaxis to become the norm, we might start seeing our own personal cars get smarter and smarter with way better driver assistance features.
It's a really cool idea, but it also makes you think, how long until these advanced systems are just standard in new cars? And how's that going to affect the price tag? Are we going to see a spike in those sticker prices?
Those are really important questions. If the cost of developing this tech comes down, maybe because they're streamlining operations or just because they're making more of it, that could actually make cars with those advanced features more affordable.
So more people could actually get their hands on self-driving features. It would be a huge change.
It would be, but it also brings up another question. Are people even ready to give up control of the wheel? Trust is a big thing when it comes to letting your car do the driving for you.
Yeah, it's a big jump for a lot of people. And then, of course, you've got all those rules and regulations. Each country, each state, they all have different ideas about autonomous driving. So
Yeah.
even if the tech is there, it's going to take a while to figure out the legal side of things to make sure everybody's on the same page.
Definitely. And let's not forget about the people whose jobs could be affected. It's not just about the car companies themselves. Think about truck drivers, taxi drivers, delivery drivers. Whole industries could look different.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
We have to remember that these new technologies, they always come with bigger changes for society as a whole. It's not just about a shiny new car.
Exactly. We have to see the whole picture, understand how this tech fits into the world and how it could change the way things work.
So we've talked about why GM's making this change, what it could mean for people buying cars, and even how it could affect things at a societal level.
Yeah.
But what does it tell us about where the whole autonomous vehicle industry is headed? Is this the start of a whole new way of thinking about things?
I think it shows just how much this space is changing and evolving. The race to get those fully autonomous vehicles on the road is still happening, but it looks like there are going to be a lot of different paths to get there. We might see some companies focusing on personal cars while others are all about those robotaxis. It really depends on what they're good at.
So maybe not everyone's going to be crowding into the robotaxi market. Some companies will play to their strengths going after different parts of the market.
That's right. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. And honestly, I think this is just the beginning. We're going to see a lot more changes, a lot more new ideas as companies try to figure out the best way to play in this game.
Sounds like investors who are following this stuff, they need to stay flexible, ready to adapt.
Definitely. This is an industry where things are moving fast. You have to stay informed, keep your finger on the pulse to really make good decisions.
So this move by GM, it's a bold statement. It tells us a lot about how the autonomous vehicle world is changing.
Yeah, and there are way more questions than answers right now, which honestly just makes it all the more interesting.
It's exciting. We're on the edge of something huge. This tech has the power to completely change the car industry and even change our lives.
It's a future we definitely got to keep an eye on.
Welcome back to Talk Tickers. We've been unpacking this major move by GM, their decision to shift gears from robotaxis to personal autonomous vehicles.
Yeah, it's been a really interesting discussion. We've talked about why they might be doing this, what it could mean for people like us who buy cars, and even how it could change things on a bigger societal level.
It's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
So let's try to sum it all up. What are the key takeaways here?
What should investors be thinking about with all this?
Well, the biggest thing is that GM's decision to move Cruise towards personal autonomous vehicles, that's a huge change in their game plan for this whole autonomous vehicle market.
Yeah, it seems like they've realized that the robotaxi thing might be a longer and tougher road than they thought, especially with all the regulations and the competition they're facing.
It's smarter for them to focus on what they're already good at, the personal vehicle market. They have a better shot at making a profit that way, at least in the short term.
This whole move, it really highlights how much the autonomous vehicle industry is changing. It's not a stable game.
Companies have to be ready to adapt, to think on their feet, make big decisions based on how the market's moving, what new tech is coming out, and where they have the advantage.
And while those robotaxis might still be part of the plan down the line, it seems like the near future is going to be more about taking things step by step, starting with personal vehicles getting smarter and smarter with better and better driver assistance systems.
The question is, will other companies follow GM's lead? Will we see a domino effect?
That brings up another really important question. How will this change the timeline for when we all have autonomous vehicles? Will it speed things up because everyone's focusing on personal cars? Or will it make things more complicated because everyone's going in different directions?
A lot of unknowns. It's going to be really interesting to see how this all plays out.
Definitely. This whole industry is just getting started, and we're only going to see more changes, more innovation as time goes on.
For investors in this space, it's a reminder that you have to stay informed, stay flexible. It's a wild ride.
And as always, we got to remind everyone that everything we've talked about today, this is not financial advice.
We're not telling anyone what to do with their money. We're just sharing our thoughts, our analysis, to help you understand this complex world a little bit better.
Do your own research, talk to your financial advisor, make decisions that are right for you and your situation.
Thanks for joining us on Talk Tickers for this deep dive into GM's big announcement. We stepped outside our usual earnings call coverage to explore this breaking news because we think it's going to have a huge impact on the automotive industry.
It's a future that's full of possibilities, and we can't wait to see what happens next.
Until next time, stay curious and drive safely.